Good evening, everyone. I am thrilled to welcome you to another dynamic episode of the Air Tribe Live. And yes, we changed the name. We used to be known as Monday Evening Mentor, and we decided to keep it all in the family and change the name to Air Tribe Live. So, welcome. If we're meeting for the very first time, my name is Andrea Oden, and I am delighted to be your host and your guide for tonight's enlightening journey into the heart of networking excellence. Tonight, we have a very special air coach joining us, Coach Valencia. She is absolutely one of my favorite people, and I want to tell you something remarkable about Valencia. Her networking skills are legendary. If Valencia were stranded on a deserted island, she would find a way to network with the rocks and the trees. Her ability to forge connections in the most unexpected places is a testament to her incredible talent, her resilience, and determination as a leader. And she understands better than anyone the value of connection. So tonight we're going to explore with Valencia. We're going to talk about her journey, and we're going to extract some valuable insights that will empower us to take our networking skills to the next level. So get comfortable and grab your Air Tribe notebooks, and let's embark on this transformative networking adventure together. Welcome, Valencia. Welcome.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you so much for the opportunity to connect with you and the Air Tribe. I count it a joy, and it is my absolute honor to be here. I cannot imagine being stranded on an island somewhere. I thought you were going to say I would be networking with the fish. Also true.
Yeah. Yep, that's it. You would. You absolutely would be networking with the fish, and even that's just you'd have a whole party by the time the search and rescue team came to find you, right?
Exactly. Yep, we're going to definitely make it work. So I am so excited to talk about networking. And I know you've got some questions for me. And of course, even as individuals are watching the replay of this, I'm happy to answer any questions there as well. So I'm going to turn it over to you and tell us where we're headed.
All righty. Most people struggle with networking and knowing how to make impactful connections. And I'm one of those people. Even though I'm someone who literally speaks for a living, I find myself having to navigate that awkwardness of networking at events. And even, as I step off stage, right, after presenting or speaking, there's this awkwardness that I have with that thing that I call shaking hands and kissing babies. But I also know, and to those of in our tribe, it's really all about embracing the journey. It's tough and it's not easy for all of us, but it's about pushing through those moments of discomfort and knowing that every connection that we make is literally a step forward, a step towards unlocking some incredible opportunity. You could be right inside of a new opportunity and not even know it. So, um, yeah. So I want to kind of jump into this challenge together and maybe have you share with us. If you could start with sharing just your perspective on how authentic connections have played a pivotal role in your professional journey.
Absolutely. Be happy to answer that. How how I want to look at networking is probably not the traditional way.
Mhm.
Networking is not transactional, it's informational. So
Mhm.
it's not about what can I get,
Mhm.
it's more around how can I serve and grow with you. So if we think about relationships as the currency of success, and every interaction is either a deposit or a withdrawal from
Mhm.
your relational bank account. then you are already on the cusp of looking at it from a different perspective. So let's take it back to 2002.
Okay.
2002, I was working for an organization, and the position that I had was as a result of someone that I knew who attended a meeting. She attended a conference.
Mhm.
And it just so happens that the hiring manager for that position was at this conference. And it turns out she said, "Oh, you're looking for a training coordinator. I know someone who's really good at being able to coordinate events. She used to work in marketing and she's currently looking for other work." And lo and behold, I went and interviewed for the position with the intent of thinking, okay, I'm going to be behind the scenes. I really don't need to engage with people in front of being in the classroom or anything like that. And it turns out that the learning and development manager said, no, you do belong in the classroom. And
Mhm.
what I learned from just that experience, again, this was a personal friend of mine
Mhm.
who attended a conference. I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And she was talking to someone who was sitting at the table with her who
Mhm.
knew of an opportunity. And that opportunity is what got me into learning and development. And here we are
Yeah.
in 2024. What are the chances? So
Yeah.
when you think about it, I would say leave no, if you, in this moment, the person, my friend, knew that I was looking for work.
Mhm.
So it's okay to say, hey, if you know of any opportunities,
Yeah.
send them my way, float my information over to that individual and just let me know who it is so I'm not caught off guard when I get the call, if I get the call.
Yeah.
So that's where I would start thinking about the deposits that we're making or the withdrawals that we're making in our networking bank account. So that's
Yeah.
the first part.
So that
That
one interaction, I mean, that one person that you knew from, a while ago, I guess, and they, just knowing your brand, knowing your work. And you know what I always say, what's being said about you when you're not in the room. So
exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
that's a perfect example. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. And I was going to say, which then brings us to you and I,
Yep.
right? So we think about how you and I connected at a certification we were going through together. And because we were kind of parallel in terms of the work that we were doing and the people we were supporting,
Mhm.
our paths ultimately began to cross. And as we got to know each other in a greater way, it was easier for me to say, hey, do you mind coming to speak at blah, blah, blah? Because I know that they need to hear what it is that you have to say. And because you're such a dynamic speaker, of course,
Thank you.
I want you to be able to come and impart some words of wisdom with the people that are here. And that is how you were able to come to my conference that I had a few years back before COVID.
Yes.
Because again, we think about how am I going to serve and
Mhm.
how can I grow together with this individual that you're connecting with. So that's part two, I was going to say. Make sure that as you're willing to grow through it, that you connect with people who are growing with you. Otherwise, if one person is stagnant and the other person is not, it's
Mhm.
not going to work.
Yeah,
Somebody's going to get resentful. And
definitely.
we've
Yeah.
seen that happen before.
Yes, absolutely. And I think one of the great things about you as a connector is that, um, like, even at your conference, you had a conference and you literally put everybody on stage
Yeah.
and you were the host, right? And most people do the opposite, right? Most people have this conference and they let everybody do the other stuff and they're the keynote. And that's the thing I think that makes you such a success in this space of coaching is because you were always coaching and you were always figuring out a way to connect people to their true selves, but
Mhm.
also to their true passions. And
Yeah.
so I think that, and that's a God given gift. That's not something I don't think I mean, I think you can learn it, but that literally is who I tell the story often about how we went to Oprah's, one of her last shows that she was doing in Chicago. And I was all nervous because I was late and you were there already. And I was like, oh gosh, she's not going to know where to go. I got the tickets and I'm, trying to find a place to park. And I'm literally about to just get my car towed, right? I'm like, I'm just going to park it here and let them tow it because V is over here and I don't want to be by herself. And so I finally find a great parking space, like the heavens opened, I park and I'm running. And when I get there, Valencia like is in the midst of a thick crowd. There's like men and women. Like at first I thought it was a fight. Like I'm getting ready. Like, oh, they got my girl. Let me get up. And
No.
and so I'm running over there and she's laughing and you need to meet her and I'm like, do you know these people? She's like, no, I just met them while we were waiting here. And that was the day that I realized that you have something very special that not a lot of people have. Like I'm an extrovert, but I'm like for me, I'm an extrovert. Like if you put me in a room with 1,000 people, I can go, right? All day. I can go all night. I can empower, encourage, and inspire. But when it's time to get off that stage and talk to somebody like this, because this is personal. This is intimate for me. And for you, it's intimate for you, but it's just who you are. And you invite everybody into your world, which is, a beautiful thing. And it's been beautiful to watch. I mean, we've known each other, good, almost
Gosh.
10 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Oh,
it's beautiful to watch. So give me an example. I probably just gave it, but give me another example of a serendipitous encounter that led to something significant in your life, professional or personal life, if you could share.
okay. So I got to be honest. This goes back to the early 2000s, and I was working for a company, a programmer, so to speak, right? This programmer would host different kinds of events right around like film festival times. And so they may always have like tickets, extra tickets if you want to go to like the Chicago Film Fest. And this particular instance, there was a group of people who were asked, would you like to participate in going to this film festival? And I was like, I guess it's fine, whatever, who's going to be there? And they didn't say who would be there. Andrea, it was Billy D. Williams.
Billy D.
Wait a minute. And I'm blushing to this day. Oh my gosh. Billy D. Williams. Now,
Oh, my head
admit,
to fall off.
yeah, you know it. I was like, oh. So I walked over to Billy D because they were doing like a meet and greet, and he was promoting his book. He co-authored a book called Twilight.
Okay.
And so I remember reading it. I was like, oh, it's a page turner. It was really good, actually. It was a fiction book, but at any rate, so I walked over and he was like, oh, and hello. And I was like, oh God, Billy D. So I was trying to get it together and I said, hi, I'm Valencia. It's nice to meet you. And he was like, oh, you're beautiful. And I was like, Lord, Billy D.
Just
Billy D is gonna make me risk it all in this moment. Billy D now. Okay. Okay, let's pull it together. So
ladies
I said,
sing the blues.
exactly. I was like, oh Lord. So I said, it's nice to meet you, Mr. Williams. He's like, oh no, please. I was like, oh God. So
Did he
I'm
tell you to
gushing,
call him Billy D or
fangirling.
Billy?
Call me Billy.
Oh
Go.
my.
I
Okay.
know. So I'm sitting there like, oh my God, my cheeks started fluttering because I was grinning so hard. And so he said, and what do you do? And I said, well, I work in marketing and it's for, this organization. So he was like, okay, well, you definitely belong in front of the camera, Valencia. And I said,
Yeah.
Billy
Good.
D, are you asking me to come to California with me? Yes or
Put you
no?
on my social media platforms. Like I'd
And it's those moments. That's one example I can think of. Like, gosh, if I had not volunteered just to go, just to be kind of like in the studio audience, I would have never been able to connect with him. Same thing with um friend and I went to VH1 Divas 1999
Mm.
at the Beacon Theater in New York City. We caught a red eye. We rode out there and just had the best time ever. to this day.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I remember, because Whitney Houston is my favorite. Whitney Houston came on and
Me
she was like, "Oh my gosh," she was saying, "Is this not an incredible taping?" We were live taping, and all of a sudden, from the balcony, I waited until she took a pause and I said, "Whitney," at the top of my lungs, and she stopped, pointed, and said, "I love you too, baby." And that was when we became best friends. That
Yeah.
That's my Whitney Houston story. I'm going to find that clip because it's on YouTube. You have to fast forward to like minute 17 or something like that, but I will definitely put it in the tribe so
Yeah.
everyone can experience it for themselves. But
Yeah.
those moments when you just never know. Volunteering is something that I'm passionate about. And so it just so happens I was in the right place at the right time to be able to meet Billy D, to connect with Whitney Houston. I mean, like we're on a first name basis, to connect with Terrence
I
Howard.
would say it. I would absolutely say it.
Oh my
I'm
gosh. It was just, but it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I couldn't believe it. I was starstruck and everything. But you
Mhm.
just never know. So when someone asks Valencia, "Hey, listen, do you have the capacity to be able to come and help me with X?" Then of
Mhm.
course, I'm going to do what I can to step in and lend a hand. So just don't be afraid to say yes to what seems like, I don't want to check people in. I don't want to. So to your point, Andrea, you were saying, well, you're an extrovert. I'm an ambivert. I can do which way. It's okay. We can go externally and have a whole bunch of folks. We can be more intimate, as you said, and
Mhm.
be one on one. I'm okay either way. But I think that is just a level of my curiosity.
Yeah.
So if you're going to network effectively, you got to be curious. Do
Mhm.
your research before you actually go and connect with the people that are going to be in the room. Have some familiarity about why you're there, but also find out from others what brings you here. Tell
Mhm.
me more
Yeah.
about what your experience has been, and then they'll be able to open up. Basically get yourself an icebreaker,
Mhm.
something that you can listen to, and then find how you can relate to what it is that they're sharing with you. What
And you
stories do you
made
have?
a really good point. I think a lot of people, and again, I've been to probably 1,000 or so networking events over
Mhm,
my career. And most people go into that conversation with the intent of, basically from the thought of, let me tell you about me.
okay.
And to your point, when you go in curiosity, if you go as someone who's curious for everybody that you meet, I'm curious about you. I want to know
Yeah.
about you. I
Mhm,
think that definitely takes and you've taught me this, so that definitely takes some of the edge off. I know we were talking a few months ago now, and I was sharing that I, struggle with the shaking hands, kissing babies, even at church after preaching. I
mhm,
like don't know what to do with that. And you gave me that advice about really making sure that I'm interested in the other person. He's like, yeah, they want to know you, but you just let them know you for an hour while you were talking. So
mhm.
now ask them about them. And that made this last speaking engagement I had in Chicago. Um, Shout out to the Garden of Prayer Missionary Baptist Church in Broadview, Illinois. Um,
Okay.
Wonderful, wonderful church family, wonderful family.
Mhm,
And it made it so much easier when I was able to connect in that space of, tell me about you. Who are you and your journey?
mhm, mhm.
And so, but that I think is uh, the key to your system of networking. 'Cause they get their elevator pitch together and they're ready to tell you I'm ready to tell you about me. And your method is the exact opposite. I've done some research. I know why we're here, why we're in the
Mhm.
room. I may
Yep.
not know everybody who's in the room, but I have
Mhm.
a general idea, right?
Yeah.
And now I've got to be curious. So yeah,
Mhm.
you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Let, let's take it to social media.
Oh boy.
I'm a better connector on social media. Um,
Okay.
but, when it comes to social media, maybe share. how you've successfully leveraged social media as it relates to that connection and networking in your career.
Sure. Social media and me,
Mhm.
career wise, okay? Because I think not only are you my sister friend, but because I have such an appreciation for branding,
Mhm.
right? I think about even though social media, most people think is a snapshot, like a Polaroid, it's a moment of time.
Yeah.
It
No,
really isn't. It's
it's
perpetual. And that's because it goes on and on and on and on. And did
Mhm.
I mention it goes on?
Yes.
So, okay, well, hey, guess what? It goes on. So as we are I have to be very thoughtful, very mindful, very demure, very thoughtful about what it is that I'm sharing on social media, right? So it really boils down to this. If my intention is to live to be missed and not just remembered,
Mhm.
live to be missed and not just remembered, and that's not mine, I heard it from someone else. But
Yes.
if that's really what I intend to do, then I need to make sure that everything that I say is in alignment with that mantra. Live to be missed, not just remembered.
And the
So,
way you can be missed is if you've added value to somebody.
exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. So, while I would love to be able to post every thought, y'all don't want to know every thought. I'm going to tell you that right now. If I barely want to share my
Mhm.
music playlist will go from you got to listen to this to oh my God, I can't believe I listened to this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's pray for me, don't talk about me. But my point is when you are thoughtful about what it is that you're posting with intent, you're posting with the understanding that this is still going to be my digital presence, my digital brand.
Mhm.
And there are things that I just won't align myself with because, again, if I'm serving others, serving people, then of course I need to be aware of what it is that is going to be put out there, but I'm able to control the narrative. So, social media for me, as it relates to the career, it's there. You see me, but I'm very thoughtful about the experience I'm curating. So,
Mhm.
no, you won't see certain posts
Yeah.
from me.
Mhm.
Yes, you will see a rant every now and again, but there's always a lesson
Yeah.
because we're always teaching or we're always learning. And I want people to be able to glean that lesson based on what they're hearing or seeing. So, very thoughtful about what I share, where I post. Even if you try, let me just delete it. Okay, just because you deleted it does not mean that someone else doesn't have a system to be
Yeah.
able to go back and pull it back. And
Yeah.
it's back. Gonna
Or
resurrect this again.
or somebody just took a snapshot of it right then before you, and they're already in the space of, can you believe she posted this? Can you believe
Exactly.
she said
Yeah.
that? You know,
Yeah.
and that, but you made a really good point that I want to circle back to. And I love this. And, as a brand strategist, this is totally my wheelhouse. When you talked about the experience that you want people to have with you,
Mhm.
and I think that you are very intentional about your brand in a way that this is the experience I want people to have when they're interacting with me as a coach, when they're
Yes.
interacting with me, as an author. And I don't know if we mentioned that you are a best-selling author. Um,
Yes.
and that all of your things tie together for the experience of Valencia. And
Yes.
a lot of people, to your point, just post willy-nilly crazy stuff. And I have to admit, I years ago, the last election, I posted something on
Mm.
my Facebook page, and I have a personal Facebook page and a business page, and I posted it on my personal page.
Mhm.
And 5 minutes after I posted, my coach called me and said, "Take that down."
Ooh.
And it wasn't like I was bashing anybody or anything. I was just giving my opinion. Now, it was a hard opinion, but it was mine.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't say anything crazy. He's like, but you are not a news reporter. You are He's like, you are an academic coach. You don't have no
See?
business posting about anything off brand.
Yeah.
That is not your brand. He's like,
Mhm.
now if they invite you to speak at the Democratic or Republican convention, then you can post that. But until then, take that down. It's off brand.
Yes.
And when he said that, you are not a news reporter, like that made perfect sense to me. He's like, news reporters report everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is they do news, entertainment, um, weather, and sports. That's what news stands for. Um, it's like, okay. But he's like, you don't report all that unless you're reporting on the game tonight. Take that down.
Okay. All right.
That was when I really started to be intentional because I think you see all these people posting whatever they want,
Yeah.
and you might even agree with them. And as, an artist and a creator, I
Mhm.
can, I think I have things to say and I have to remember that there is an experience that comes with me. Yeah. So you
Absolutely.
right, right.
Absolutely. And it's not to say that cuz listen, I have been getting all into Love is Blind. I have very strong opinions there. I've been getting into The Real Housewives of Dubai. Again, strong opinions, and I might even go a step further and participate in the chats that happen with the
Yeah.
Facebook groups.
Uh-huh.
But that's the forum for it, right?
Yes.
So I
Yes.
can go and participate there, but if I see that the conversation is going in a different direction, then I can remove myself from the conversation. I don't have to bring it back to my social media necessarily. I can still watch. We're not walking around with blinders because we're living in a world. And to your point, as it relates to politics and things like that, yes, we're not doing the news.
Mm-mm.
And if you are a lifestyle coach, then yes, you might talk about some of the things, but you can always take it and make it a teaching moment. You can
Yes.
always take it and think about, well, how can I
Mhm.
share this with my audience in such a way that the views that are expressed here are not those of the, you can put that disclaimer out there, but is that really who you are? So
Yeah.
to your coach's point, make sure you stay in alignment with it.
It is.
That doesn't mean,
And there are things that, like you said, that the Housewives of Dubai is part of your experience. I would associate that with you. I would not if you started. I would.
because I want to go on the show and coach for them.
Yeah, and even, yeah, to your point, I've had uh I've posted things, especially on TikTok, that in the space of being a coach of what I think about stuff, and I think that's perfectly fine. But I think when you start just posting so off brand so often that you don't even have a brand anymore, nobody, and there's celebrities that we know who
Mhm.
have done that. You
Mhm.
forget who they really are because they went so far left
All over.
and they're
Yeah.
just way out there. And
Mhm.
I look at this one former singer who's everywhere talking about all the stuff that Hollywood people are doing. And she's so busy
Oh,
in gossip space that we don't even know she's saying. Right? We have a whole generation of people who have no idea that she's an amazing singer.
yeah.
She
Yeah.
sing on TikTok every once in a while,
She
But
would be in alignment with her brand. But I think, and I've got opinions about, and I think I know who you're speaking of. We're not going to say the name. There's so many different facets that are happening. But to your point, yes, stay on brand. Now, let me also say this. When I am on TikTok, for example,
Mhm,
I have not I haven't invested as much time on TikTok
mhm,
recently. And I don't know if it's because I got kind of like, really indifferent about it.
mhm,
What I'll do to this day is if I see something or someone that is interesting and or if I think it's going to be helpful or if I'm trying to show support, I do that a lot
mhm,
because I've got all kinds of followers over there, like all walks of life,
mhm.
from
Yep.
dog breeders to business owners, comedians, like you name it. And so it's nothing for me to repost them because that's my way of showing support.
Yeah.
I may comment if I'm on there. I may share a picture so they don't, because I can't even get into my other one. I had two accounts.
Mhm,
One was a personal, one is a coach account, and I
mhm.
cannot get into the other account. And I have no idea what that's about, but that's something else.
Sure.
So, all of that to say, the goal is when you are using social media for the purposes of networking and connecting others, it's nothing for me to send off a retweet. Wait, that's X. It's
Yeah.
nothing for me to retweet on X. It's
React.
nothing for me to repost on
Yeah.
TikTok.
Yes.
It's nothing for me to share on Instagram or even leave a comment on YouTube. It's all in how you want to show up in that space. Now, that may be comfortable for me. It may not be comfortable for someone else.
Yeah.
Find what works for you and then move in that space, and it'll become easier for you. And you'll find other ways that you want to be able to connect.
Exactly. And I realize how important social media connections are
Yeah.
when I got more when I started to post more on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
One of the like I posted my book, and when my book came out last year is when I really my last book when I started to post and put my picture up there, put the picture of the book, and just started posting things about branding, and mostly for my tribe. And a woman reached out to me from a major company in Atlanta, and they were doing in young professionals ERG group,
Okay.
and he wanted to know if they bought copies of the book for everybody on the in their network, would
Hmm.
I speak at their lunch and learn? It was virtual for 2 weeks in a row. I was like,
Okay.
absolutely. And
See?
and that was so weird for me,
Hmm.
and I'm looking her up to make sure she's a real person and not a bot and all that.
Oh God.
But
Okay.
I did, and I got a really great opportunity.
Hmm.
I spoke for 30 minutes, 2 weeks in a row, and they
Hmm.
bought 100 books.
See?
So
That's 100 units that are moved.
and all I asked, and then some of them are now in the tribe. And it has been, that's when I really realized, and I didn't even do anything, right? So imagine now that I'm more active and Air Network is on LinkedIn. Imagine what could happen if I were really intentional about it.
Yeah.
And I was just posting willy nilly and things that made me happy, but
Yeah.
I wasn't really posting looking for sales or looking for business.
Hmm.
So you're absolutely right about being intentional and being
Hmm.
on brand,
Yeah.
and yeah. So let's talk a little about you. Valencia has an ebook coming out, and she's
Yay.
graciously made a condensed version for our Air Tribe. And we will post the link in the next day or so of how you can get that book. But
Hmm.
one of the things that you talk about is intentional activities like virtual coffee and things like that. Can you
Oh
speak a
yeah.
little bit about that, and how does that deepen connections? Like, how would I go about a virtual coffee chat?
So let's back up. And we mentioned Oprah a little earlier in our conversation. So if we think about how Oprah has built her career, not only by excelling in media, but also by nurturing relationships with people who align with her values.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
So let's think about her close relationship with Gail King,
Yeah.
or her business relationship with uh, Ava DuVernay,
Mhm.
Queen Sugar. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
when you think about what she did, she cultivated those connections that helped to amplify both her success as well as the success of others around her.
Mhm.
So now let's think about us. What would a fulfilling relationship look like? And you got to ask yourself now, am I being that kind of a friend or colleague or a leader for others? So, again, as we think about the relationships that we are building, connecting, it's easy for us to go and have a coffee chat with someone that we know.
Yes.
Hey,
Yeah.
let's catch up really quick. You
Mhm.
got 30 minutes for me? Grab your cup of coffee. You can come over to the house. I can come over to you. We can go meet at Starbucks, wherever the case may be. But in this day and age, we know that technology is a gift for us. So
Yeah.
the gift of being able to connect with someone virtually, grab your favorite cup, let's go have something to drink together,
Mhm.
and you just really have a conversation with this individual. You respect their time, but also they're respecting yours.
Yeah.
So if you do want to be intentional, that's easy for you to connect with someone that you already know. But what about the person that you don't know?
Mhm.
Okay, well, that's a little bit different. It's still that level of let me respect that person's time. Let me do my research and find out who they are. Pick one thing that you'd like to learn more about with that individual. Just one.
Yep.
Because the fact that you took the time to research, okay, Andrea has written a book. Okay, let me go see. So now we're looking at LinkedIn and okay, so she's written a book. Oh, and she speaks. Huh, interesting. I wonder if she would be interested in speaking at my event.
Mhm.
Let's just send off an email
Yep.
and don't just use Now I'm a fan of Chat GPT. Let's be clear. But you got to personalize it. You got to make it your own voice. So if you're going to send someone a message that lets them know that you're interested in connecting with that person, they may think, okay, great.
Yeah.
But let me make sure this is going to be a good use of my time.
Mhm.
So what are you hoping to get? It's literally a pitch,
Yes.
so to speak. You're
Yep.
trying to pick that person's brain. Are you looking for them to mentor you? Are you looking for them to share their network? Well, you can't just say, hey, who do you know?
Yeah.
Hey, Valencia's trying to get to California. She chasing Terrence Howard. Can you help her? No. You I mean you could, but please don't.
Yes.
Or
No.
maybe you should. No,
No.
no,
No. No. No.
no. Okay. My point is as you are making that connection with the individual,
Mhm.
remember what we said at the very beginning. We're trying to nurture relationships where we can grow together.
Yeah.
So it's not so much what can I get from
Mm.
this conversation? What can I give to this conversation that brings value to us both?
Yeah.
That's the question that we're asking. So I see nothing wrong with a coffee chat. I would highly recommend it, especially if you're looking for opportunities to get to know others.
Yes.
And what did they used to say years ago? The 6 degrees of separation. Well, that's been cut in half.
Mhm.
Thank you to, again, digital technology today. So coffee chats I'm a huge fan. They
Mhm.
shouldn't be long either
No, they should.
because
Yeah.
that's a meeting.
And
That's
I would
not a
even
chat.
say the first time, don't even ask for nothing, right? Because I think that's the thing that, I mean, other than like I had a guy call me once and almost to what you just said, he worked at the company, but he worked in a different state and saw me speak, just a presentation, a 5-minute thingy. And he looked me up on LinkedIn and said, oh, I see she's a speaker.
Mhm.
And he reached out and said, I would love to buy you a cup of coffee virtually.
Okay.
And he said, and I would love to hear more about your journey as a speaker. I promise
Okay.
I'll only take 30 minutes.
Okay.
And I sent him the link to my calendar. He booked it. He didn't ask me for nothing. And I
Good.
literally wanted to give him everything I had, right?
Mhm.
He
Mhm.
just wanted to know how I got started as a speaker. And at the end of that conversation, he didn't ask me for anything. He was taking notes. And
Mhm.
I literally sent him a ton of resources. I sent him speaking places where he could practice Toastmasters. I put him in touch with some friends from Toastmasters and he didn't ask me for anything. But when
Cool.
you don't ask people for something other than knowledge and information, they want to help you more, right?
Yeah.
And especially if they don't feel like, to your point, you just want my tribe, right? And I've
Mhm.
had people who want my tribe.
Yeah.
And, even though I have coaches come on and address the tribe, we vet those coaches and we want to know who's speaking to the tribe. And
That's
for
right.
those of you who don't know, Valencia is our VP at Air Network. And
Well,
we are pulling it together, making sure that we're having, just an excellence experience for
mhm.
our tribe members. And we
Mhm.
don't want just anybody. And I have people
Right.
all the time reaching out. They see a post or they see, one of our live sessions and they want to do it, right? Or, how can I get on? And they don't even know how many people in tribe, right? I can have 2 people in tribe, probably.
Right.
But those are the people, that I'm most cautious about connecting with. And
Yeah.
sometimes, people haven't had the privilege of being coached by Valencia, so they may not know. Uh, and I give
That's
grace.
a no-no.
yes, but I give grace. But yeah. So, let's talk a little bit about maybe just some initial steps. Like if someone was going to a women's conference next week, um, what would you suggest they do as it relates to trying to network and make authentic connections?
Gotcha. But before I answer that question about what you should do to prepare for your next conference and networking opportunities, I
Mhm,
want to circle back to something that you said. Now, you said I gave him a ton of resources.
mhm,
That's being generous,
mhm,
right? So, that generosity is something that people need to be able to do when they are connecting with others.
mhm.
It's there is no gatekeeping, so to speak.
No.
There is
There's
no
nothing
gatekeeping.
new under the sun. People are so afraid that you're going to take their stuff. You took it from somebody, right? You did. There's
Or
nothing
they gave it to you. Yeah,
There's nothing new under the sun, right? And
right.
all we do when you think, I was just having this conversation with a woman that I coach, and she knows I'm telling the story too.
Ooh,
And, you know,
okay.
she was, all offended that somebody was taking her stuff, she thought.
Mm,
And I said, okay, let's think. I said, do you think the man who invented the typewriter is mad at Steve Jobs? The,
no.
the computer started as a typewriter, right? All we do is take what's there and we make
Mhm,
it bigger. We make it better. We make it our own. And
mhm,
unless
mhm,
somebody is literally word for word plagiarizing you, they're not stealing.
mhm,
And
mhm.
and I think we're so worried, and I don't have that problem because I know if I'm empty, God's gonna give me more, right?
That's right.
And I will give it all away because I
Mhm,
know Zig Ziglar says if you want to be happy in this life, give somebody else everything they want and help
mhm,
them, and then you're guaranteed success, happiness, and
mhm,
prosperity. And
mhm,
I love
mhm.
that. And I know that that's true. My whole life has been that way. I give it all away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but that's it.
And that's okay. So we're going to take that and springboard forward.
There
So
you
you said, I give it all away.
go.
Okay. Now, as I said, if you're getting ready to prepare for a conference, I actually did a women's conference. Gosh, is it 2 weeks already? 2 weeks ago. So shouts out to you, Living Purpose Church
Yeah,
in North Aurora. It was a
we
pleasure to
doing some
serve.
Illinois churches, ain't we?
Man, listen, right? It was a pleasure to serve as your moderator, facilitator. Had a really, really great time there. And one of the things that I would highly recommend anyone do if you're going to a conference is you can start at your table.
Mhm.
Usually there's a table of women, or depending on the conference, we'll just say women's conference. So it's a table of women. You can turn to the person sitting to your right if you don't know them, turn to the person sitting to your left, turn to your neighbor, right?
Yeah.
And introduce yourself to
Yeah.
them. Now, some conferences may have a they may have icebreakers that are at the table, but if you don't see anything that you can kind of draw from, maybe it's something that you see this person is wearing. Oh, you got to tell from that. Oh my gosh, what kind of bag is that?
Mhm.
What are you seeing the person actually wearing, drinking? How do they smell? Is it a pleasant scent? All these different things that you can use to kind of start the conversation. Now, for my introverts, because I know that may be daunting for them, like, oh my gosh, how am I got to strike up a conversation with this total stranger next to me? Well, depending on the hours,
Yes.
yes,
Mhm.
because eventually you'll walk away with a friend and it's no longer a stranger.
And it's more
It's
uncomfortable to sit with a stranger and y'all ain't talking. That's more
exactly.
uncomfortable.
Yes, because you see it's right there. I've had that happen, and if I am sitting down, so there were times where I was not participating in the conference at maybe lunchtime. And even though the show was still going on, the show must go on. Even though this was happening, I didn't know the two people that I was seated next to. And so I said, tell me what your thoughts are so far about the conference.
And that's a
Open ended question.
perfect, perfect way to get to know somebody, right? What'd you
Yes,
think about that speaker? Wasn't
yes,
that amazing? What was your favorite part?
yes,
Well, and
yes.
that's a perfect answer. Yeah, the perfect way to.
Open-ended questions. No,
Yes,
open-ended to get
yes.
them to talk.
Yes.
And then if they feel like, well, I'm tired of talking, then they're going to reverse Uno back to you and say,
Right.
okay, well, what did you think? I pulled out and then pull out one thing
Mm.
that you heard that was actually useful or beneficial to you. Now that at
Yeah.
this point, you got a table of 10 people,
Mhm.
you can work the table.
Yeah.
And if there is nothing obstructing your view from the person that's sitting across from you,
Mhm.
and maybe it's time for you to get up from the table and walk around and communicate with other people, you can do that too.
Mhm.
So the goal is to start small and expand,
Yeah.
right? So if you think about an accordion, it
Mhm.
opens and closes, opens and closes. We're not saying you got to go and do a power run through the entire room, right? That's not going to be, if anything, I'd be looking like, what is going on over there?
Yes.
Let me go in this direction.
And
But
when people start running, we start running. So yeah.
right, exactly. What's she doing? What's going on? So find out from the people that you're seated with. Find out what did you take away from this? What are your thoughts about this? And oh my goodness, can you believe this weather? I
Mhm.
thought it was supposed to be 70 degrees, but it's only 62 degrees. What is that? You can just use very general things. And as people begin to warm up to you,
Mhm.
they'll be more inclined to share with you.
Yeah.
Here is something else, though. Not everybody is comfortable having a conversation. So
Yeah.
you also have to know when to kind of, okay, let me just tap the brakes. Maybe
Yes.
I need to park
Yes.
because this person isn't receptive to me. And that's okay.
It is.
That
Yeah.
has that
Yeah.
has nothing to do with you.
Mhm.
They may have just seen a text message that's disturbing to them. They may have heard something that they're still trying to reflect on. That has nothing to do with you. Move to the next person.
Yes.
Move
Yeah.
to the next table.
That's true. And I think sometimes, you know, our landscape has changed especially as it relates to networking, since COVID, because a lot of us are virtual.
Mhm.
And so a lot of our connections happen differently. And when we do go outside, you know,
Yeah.
we're like, deer in the headlights. We don't really even know what to do anymore, right?
Oh
But
my God. Yeah.
I love that networking has changed so much because
Mhm.
now, to your point, it's not just about, I'm a supervisor at ABC Corporation, right?
Right.
It's about, who are you at your core, right? We've
Yes.
figured out how to have these connections and even the conversations. Like you say, I thought it was going to be 60 degrees. I can't believe, those are because we're outside now. And we
Right. Right. So
one.
so how do you do that in a virtual space?
Mhm.
Okay. Well, it's engagement. Let me see if I can give you an example. So, for example, when we log on to social media,
Mhm.
whatever that subject is, and I'll use LinkedIn as an example. Maybe I saw something that Mark Cuban said
Mhm.
and I share it with my network
Yeah.
and someone comments under it.
Mhm.
I can comment to that person.
Mhm.
And if that banter continues, if that conversation continues, I may send a request to that person to become connected with them.
Yes. Yeah,
And it's as simple as that.
it is. And we have to be, especially, our tribe is filled with women in leadership, right? Or aspiring leaders. And we're all leaders, by the way. So whether you have a title or not, we are all responsible for leading. And I think that we have to be more intentional about networking outside of our organization.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially now with companies downsizing, reorging. One of the things that when I left corporate America after 20 years with one company, the thing that made it okay was I already had a platform. I already had connections outside of the organization. And that was, and I know that there's so many people who don't. They
Right.
put all their eggs in the basket of one company, and
Mhm.
companies change their minds, right?
That's right.
They
That's
do.
right.
And what do you do when, and it will be your turn. I was in HR. I'm gonna tell you the truth. It will be your turn one day, whether you choose it or they choose it for you, because as you grow, um, you have to move. That's just, and it may not be out the company, it could be out of the department or, but you have to grow and move. And
Mhm.
sometimes we move it's time and we won't move. And so, you know, God in his infinite wisdom will move you, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But you have to have had some connections. You've got to know how to connect with people outside of your immediate circle, even outside of your family. There, as we teach our kids when they grow up, we hold them so tight. And my daughter is Valencia waiting to grow up, by the way. Their birthdays are like a day apart. And whenever I have questions about my daughter, I go to Valencia because she has never met a stranger. She is fearless in her approach and she will ask anybody for anything that she wants. And her answer to me is, Mom, it's already no. All I can do is give me a yes. That's embarrassed or shame. Nope. It was no before I said anything. And but it's so, you know, we have to learn to be more fearless and courageous in that
Mhm.
space of getting to know people. Because,
Mhm.
like you say, you never know where your next job is coming from, where your next speaking engagement is coming from. Even in this platform, we never know who our next coach is or who's going to put us on their platform and say,
Mhm.
who your next investor is. So
Absolutely.
that is very, very true. Um,
Yes. Yes. And speaking of, when you consider the
mm,
why do we do this?
mhm.
It really goes back to servant leadership, which
Yep.
we know.
Mhm.
And when I think of you just never know, well, no means new opportunity.
Mhm.
It's an
Mm.
acronym.
Yes.
And that new opportunity could be how you are helping someone else and you're not dragging them along because they've got their values that are aligned with yours, but you are helping them by getting some visibility
Yes.
for whatever it is that their gifts are. And sometimes people have that raw talent that just needs to be kind of fine tuned a little bit.
Favorite people.
Who
Those are my favorite people. They are.
now I'm gonna send them to you
Yeah,
because
come on. Those are my favorite people to coach because they don't have any preconceived ideas, no egos, no nothing. Right? Those
okay,
are people to coach. Yeah.
okay. Now once you get them cleaned up, then you
Yeah.
can
Then
send
I
them to
get
me,
them.
and then we'll move on.
And that's funny because that's typically what happens, right?
Yes. So let's get them. We go to Coach Andy first. Coach
Yes.
Andrea will help you get to the point where you okay. Now I can because I can't the raw. I
Yeah.
don't.
I love some raw talent. Love some raw
That
talent.
was me 2014. It's 2024. I need to have it. I can't do the charcoal,
Yeah.
right? Can you just give me the
You need to
give
find
me the the diamond? We're gonna make it gloss,
yeah.
even
You need to
high
shine a
polish.
little bit for you.
Yes. Yes. Lord, no. No more.
Let me ask you one final question. How do
Sure.
you balance the pursuit of new relationships, new connections, while still maintaining and nurturing the old ones? Because I think sometimes people go, I got enough people in my circle already. I don't need no new people. And I'm guilty. I have said that before.
Mhm.
I don't need no new friends. But as you evolve and every time you go to another level in your leadership, in your, purpose, some people fall off. That's just
Yeah.
inevitable. Or
Mhm.
you don't spend as much time with them, and you need to know new people on that next level. So how do you
Yeah.
balance nurturing the relationships and connections that are still valuable to you and that person and
Yeah.
don't and make sure that you don't lose it?
Yeah. So balancing the existing and then still leaving room for new,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
Is something that you're going to have to find the best way for you. I'll tell you what I do.
mhm,
I look at reciprocity.
mhm,
So,
mhm.
are we mutually pouring into each other or is it just lopsided
Yeah.
or one-sided?
Mhm,
And if it's one-sided, it's not to say that that person is bad or wrong. It's just it is what it is.
mhm.
So I'm moving you into a different category. I
Mm,
may revisit
yeah, yeah,
the conversation, but I need to it's basically a road check.
yeah,
Who's in your front row?
yes.
So if this person is in the front row and they're yay, but they're also growing they're also moving forward in whatever their endeavors are, what their goals are, what their values are, and I see that growth.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you're still here in the front row.
Yes. Because you
Now,
do pay ticket, you pay a price for the front row, and people don't realize.
absolutely,
I share that
absolutely.
all the time, that your life is like a concert arena, right?
Mhm.
And you got people who pay the price to be up front in your life.
Yes.
And you got
Yes.
people that's in the balcony. I think I shared last week. I saw Anita Baker years ago, and I was so far in the balcony, I couldn't even tell you what color dress she had on, right? And this is before they had
But you were
modern,
in the building.
but I was in the building. But it's, you have to, when you give a seat to somebody in your life,
Mhm.
you know, are they paying the price to sit up front or to be in the wings? Because we got people in the wings, which, there are people holding us down and making
Mhm.
sure the show is right and still cheering for you.
Right.
Or are they, they just want to be, because you do have people who are what we call seat fillers, right?
Absolutely.
And do you have a whole room full of seat fillers, or do you have people who pay the price to be in your arena? So, yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. And you absolutely are asking yourself that very question regularly.
yes, yes, yes.
So just like you do,
Or every December,
yeah.
look, I go back through my calendar starting in January, and I look at every meeting I had, every speech I gave, every
Mhm.
presentation, everything that I did, and I
Mhm.
decide on everything. Did I enjoy it? Did I love it? Do I want to do any more? Did it drain me? Did it give me peace? Did it give
Mhm.
me joy? And if
Mhm.
it did not, I don't want to do that in the next year. And I
Yeah.
go through it and then with every person. Does this
Right.
person make me feel good? Are they
That's right.
do they make me anxious? Is there
Mhm.
something? Do I want to continue to engage? And to your point,
Mhm.
I don't need a public service announcement. I just fall back, and
Right.
someone else
Exactly.
falls into the space, and that's so
That's right.
somebody replaces that person. Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm. And that's the thing. You have to be able to recognize what it is that you're doing that invites that type of person.
Mhm.
So if this is someone that is not, again, it's not mutually beneficial.
Yeah.
Now, Valencia, there are opportunists out there.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's where your discernment comes in.
Yeah.
That's where you can see if this person is here for the long term
So,
or the short term.
yeah.
And it's okay. Just be clear on where you are placing that person. We
Yeah.
can't compartmentalize relationships by any means. No, I'm not saying to do that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying be aware
Yeah.
of the contributions that you're making because it should be both of you growing in this space.
Yes.
Because as a plane begins to take off, the higher the altitude, the thinner the air. And
Mhm.
I can't bring someone with me who can't breathe
Yeah.
because now I have to stop what I'm doing and make sure you're okay
Mhm.
to handle the climb, the
Yeah.
ascension.
Yeah.
So rather than dragging them along, evaluate the relationship.
Yeah.
Identify if this is something that I want to be intentional about building a
Yeah.
closer connection with, then do that.
And to your point, that like you made the other point, with in networking, there some people aren't ready, right? For
Yeah,
whatever reason, it has nothing to do with you, or
right.
we're on a different journey for now, and that's
Yes.
okay too. And I
Mhm.
think sometimes we get offended when people aren't where we want them to be, and
Right.
we have to understand that they're journeying just like they're not sitting at home trying to make you happy, right? They're
Right.
literally
Life is
trying.
happening.
Yes, life is lifing, and
Yeah,
you have to give grace and be gracious towards people, and give leave the door open for them to grow, because
absolutely.
some people will stop right here, and that's okay for them. That is
That
absolutely okay. And when
mhm.
you talk to them, you can only talk to them about these things, and it's
Mhm.
fun, it's exciting. But when it comes to the tribe that is growing with you, that's where you're spending most of your, and they may catch up, they may decide that I want more of that, and that's
Mhm.
okay too. But if you burn that bridge, and so I can't be with you because you're not growing, and you make them feel bad, there, you have wasted a relationship, and you hurt somebody pretty much, and you hurt their chances of coming up with you or
Yeah.
growing with you. So yeah.
And maybe we can revisit that at our next session or our next episode.
Yeah.
Well, how do we clear the space? Like,
Really.
do you just fall back
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Because there's a whole approach to making sure that you're not burning any bridges that way.
Yeah, there is. And a lot of people get it wrong. And they burn bridges. And once you burn a bridge, you got to build it again and it's not the same bridge. So it's this weird thing and people, think that as time goes on you'll forget. And
Mhm.
and you
Surprise,
don't. Yeah.
surprise.
Yeah.
Nope, I didn't forget.
Exactly. Well, we are right at time. So as we wrap tonight, I want to say thank you, Coach Valencia, for your generosity and sharing your insights and your journey with us. In typical Air Tribe fashion, Coach V has given us an ebook that is
Yay.
a smaller version of her new book coming out, Authentic Networking Power, and that's the Air Tribe version. And so we're going to post the link in our Facebook group and in our community network in the next couple days. Valencia, if you want to, as we conclude, can you let our listeners and viewers know the best way to engage with you moving forward, whether that's through social media, workshops, coaching sessions? How can they leverage your invaluable guidance on their journey for growth and connection?
Absolutely. First of all, before I answer that question, thank you so much for putting this together and connecting because I want to know what other coaches are coming because we've got a huge number of women who are out there, and I know they are some powerhouse women for sure. That being said, if you want to engage me, the best place is the Air Tribe. Who knew, right? So
Well,
log on to the Air Tribe. If you have questions, it's okay. I think we have it set so that you can ask a question
yeah.
and you can at me, of course. You
Mhm.
can post it so that the other members of the Air Tribe can communicate and share their thoughts as well. In fact, we're looking for more engagement in that space. So if you do have questions based on this replay that you're hearing, or even if you have a different topic that you'd like for us to discuss, make sure you post it so that we can include it with our running list because we got a lot of things that we're going to be covering, especially in 2025. I'm super excited. But the best way to engage me as for right now is going to be through the Air Tribe. Send me a message. You can also send a private message if you don't feel comfortable posting it for the group at large. But best way, the Air Tribe. That's it for me.
All right. Well, thank you again, Valencia.
Of
And thank
course.
you for everyone who joined tonight. Thank you for those listening to the replay. Let's keep the momentum going and let's start networking with each other. We've got an amazing tribe with women who are powerhouses. We have everything in our tribe. So let's start
Absolutely.
connecting together, and I will see you all real soon. Thank you again, Coach V. I love you. And I know that next year is going to be the start of our best year. So,
Yes.
thank you again. So that's
Thank
it for us
you.
tonight.